The stagecoach rumbled down the dusty Arizona road, shaking with every turn of its weathered wheels. When it finally stopped in Willow Creek, a thick cloud of dust rose behind it and drifted across the street. Clara Dawson stepped down carefully, her worn carpetbag clutched tight in both hands. She held it so firmly her knuckles turned pale. Willow Creek was nothing like St. Louis. Wooden buildings lined the dirt street. A blacksmith hammered metal in the distance. Horses waited by hitching posts, swishing their tails against flies. Ranch hands moved with slow purpose, talking in easy voices she was not used to hearing. She felt out of place from the moment her boots touched the ground. Clara had traveled across states as a mail-order bride, answering an ad because she had no other way to escape the life she left behind. After her mother passed, her father's temper grew into a storm she could never outrun. She had lived in fear every day, walking on eggshells, hoping not to be noticed, yet always ending up caught in harm's path. Leaving him had taken everything she had left inside her. But stepping into a new life with a stranger brought a different kind of fear. She wondered if she had traded one danger for another. Someone called her name. Miss Dawson. The voice was deep and steady, but it startled her so much she flinched. Clara turned slowly, afraid of what she would see. A tall man walked toward her, the sun behind him making his outline glow. As he came closer, she saw brown eyes full of calm warmth, a tidy beard along his jaw, and a face shaped by hard work under the sun. He removed his hat as he reached her. "I am Thomas Reed," he said. "You must be Clara." His voice held no sharp edge, no impatience, no threat. Clara nodded, words trapped in her throat. She had braced herself for a rough man, someone who might bark orders or grab her arm the way her father had. Instead, Thomas offered his hand gently, open and patient, letting her decide whether to take it. After a long breath, she placed her trembling hand in his. His grip was sure but careful, not possessive or demanding. He lifted her carpetbag from her grasp with ease. "Welcome home," he said. The words struck her harder than she expected. No one had ever welcomed her anywhere. Home had always been a place where she hid, not a place she entered with hope. "Thank you," she whispered. Thomas led her to his wagon, but never touched her without asking. He did not walk too close or speak too loudly. Every movement he made showed respect she did not know how to handle. The wagon rolled forward, leaving the small town behind them. Open fields stretched to distant blue mountains. The setting sun washed the land in shades of gold. Clara watched the wide open sky, stunned by its beauty. "It is quiet here," she said softly. "Quiet is good," Thomas replied with a small smile. "Gives folks space to breathe." She nodded. She didn't realize until that moment how much she needed space to breathe. They rode in comfortable silence. Thomas didn't push conversation on her. He simply let her take in the land and gather her thoughts. After a while, he pointed ahead. "That is the ranch." The house stood on a small rise. Fresh paint covered the wooden boards. A barn sat nearby, horses in the corral, and a large oak tree shaded a wooden bench in front of the porch. Smoke drifted from the chimney, making the place feel warm and lived in. "I built most of it myself," Thomas said. Then he paused. "I added an extra bedroom last month so you would have your own space until you feel settled." Clara looked at him, startled. "You gave me my own room?" "Course I did," he said. "I want you to feel safe here. We take things one day at a time." She swallowed hard. Safety was not something she was used to being offered. Inside the house, the air smelled faintly of pine and fresh bread. A quilt lay neatly over the back of a chair. A vase of wildflowers stood on the table. Everything was clean and simple, but filled with care. "I tried to make it welcoming," Thomas said quietly. Clara touched the flowers, her hand shaking. No one had ever prepared anything for her with kindness in mind, not even small things. "It is lovely," she said. He showed her the bedroom next. The bed was freshly made. A small chest of drawers stood beside it, and a window opened toward the mountains. Another jar of flowers sat on the windowsill. Mrs. Holloway from the neighboring ranch helped with the touches, he explained. She said a woman should arrive to something bright. Clara felt her eyes burn. She had not felt seen in years. "This is more than I expected," she said softly. Thomas nodded, almost shy. "If anything is not right, we can change it. Your comfort matters." Left alone to settle, Clara sat on the bed. Her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from something unfamiliar, something fragile. Hope. She washed the dust of travel from her face and changed into a clean dress. When she returned to the main room, Thomas was placing bowls of stew on the table. "Hope you like it," he said. Mrs. Holloway brought it by. "It smells wonderful," Clara replied. They ate together in quiet comfort. Thomas asked gentle questions about her journey. He did not pry into her past. He did not push for answers she wasn't ready to give. After supper, he showed her the barn, the horses, the garden, and the view of the mountains. The evening air grew cool as they stood watching the sky turn pink and purple. "It is different from the city," he said. "Yes," Clara said, "but in a good way." When they returned inside, Thomas cleared his throat. "I want you to know why I placed the ad," he said. "Folks think it was for help on the ranch, but that is only a small part. Truth is, I did not want a life alone. I wanted a real home. Something steady, something honest." Clara listened, her heart softening. "I do not expect anything from you tonight," he continued, "or tomorrow. We will take this slow. You deserve time. Time, respect, safety." Words she had never been given before. "Thank you," Clara whispered. That night, as she lay in her room, listening to the quiet of the ranch and not the angry footsteps she once feared, she felt something she had never known. Peace. For the first time in her life, she drifted to sleep without fear. Sunlight eased across the land as Clara opened her eyes the next morning. For a moment she lay still, listening to the quiet hum of the ranch. No shouting, no heavy footsteps, no dread waiting outside her door. The silence felt strange but comforting. She dressed and stepped into the main room. Thomas stood by the stove, his sleeves rolled up, the smell of warm biscuits filling the air. "Morning," he said with a smile. "Hope you slept well." Clara hesitated, then nodded. "Better than I have in a long time." "Good," he replied. "There is no rush today. Breakfast is ready if you are hungry." Clara sat at the table while he set down eggs, biscuits, and a pot of fresh coffee. She tried to hide her surprise. Her father had never lifted a finger to cook. Seeing a man prepare a meal felt almost unreal. "I want to help with the housework," Clara said quietly. "I do not want to be a burden." "You are not a burden," Thomas said firmly. "We take care of things together around here." His easy tone filled the room with a warmth she was not used to. After breakfast, Thomas showed her more of the ranch. He walked slower than usual, adjusting to her pace. He pointed out the corral, the barn, the hay storage, and the small patch of land where he hoped to plant a new garden. "If you like planting things, I will make sure you have whatever seeds you want," he said. "But only if you want to." Clara looked at him, puzzled by how gently he treated her choices. She was used to being told what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. Having a say felt new, almost frightening. As they walked back toward the house, a horse approached from the distance. A friendly woman with auburn hair sat in the saddle. She waved with bright energy. "Morning, Thomas," the woman called. "And you must be Clara." "This is Mrs. Holloway," Thomas said. Mrs. Holloway climbed down and greeted Clara with a warm shake of the hand. "Welcome to Willow Creek, dear. If you need anything, do not hesitate to call on me. Us ranch women stick together out here." Clara nodded shyly. "Thank you. I appreciate it." After she rode off, Thomas noticed Clara watching her leave. "She is good people," he said. "You will like her." They spent the afternoon learning simple tasks. Clara helped gather eggs from the chickens and watched Thomas check the fence line near the corral. Each time she hesitated, he encouraged her with patience, never raising his voice or losing his temper. In the late afternoon, Clara finally asked the question that had been growing in her mind. "Thomas," she said, turning to him, "what do you expect from me, from this marriage?" She feared the answer. Feared hearing he expected obedience or demands she was not ready for. Thomas rested his hands on his hips and looked at her with calm honesty. "I do not expect you to feel anything you are not ready for," he said. "I hope we build trust. I hope you feel safe. I hope one day this place feels like your home. But I do not rush you, and I will not force anything. We are partners in this." Clara stared at him. His voice held steady respect, not ownership, not entitlement. Respect. "I am not used to this," she whispered. "Someone being good to me." "I know," he said softly. "That is why we take our time." As the sun lowered, they sat on the porch in 2 wooden rocking chairs. The air held the smell of warm earth and summer grass. They watched the sky change colors without speaking. The silence felt easy, not heavy. After a while, Thomas spoke. "The preacher comes through town every 2 weeks. We can marry when you are ready. There is no need to hurry." Clara looked at him. Really looked. She thought of the man he had shown himself to be. Kind, steady, patient. Nothing like the man she ran from. "I think I am starting to feel safe here," she said. Thomas turned to her, his blue eyes gentle in the fading light. "I am glad," he said. "You deserve that more than anyone." Clara looked out over the land. The open space. The calm wind. The warmth of a home not built on fear. For the first time, she felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. As the stars began to appear, she allowed herself to believe that her new life might truly be different. That she was no longer a shadow hiding from harm, but a woman finally given a chance to live. Clara breathed in the cool night air and felt her heart steady. She belonged here. Maybe not fully yet, but she was beginning to, and that was enough. The next weeks passed gently, each day easing Clara further into the life she had never imagined for herself. She woke each morning to the soft sounds of Thomas moving about the house, heard birds singing outside her window, and felt a calm she had never known. The ranch had its hard moments, but even the hard work felt lighter than the fear she once lived with. One warm afternoon, as Clara folded laundry on the porch, Thomas walked up from the barn with dust on his boots and a thoughtful look on his face. "Clara," he said, brushing off his hat, "the preacher will be in town tomorrow. I wanted to ask if you would like to speak with him about the wedding." Clara froze. The question was simple, yet everything within her stirred. When she first arrived, marriage felt like another risk she was too broken to take. But now she saw Thomas clearly. He had shown her nothing but patience, respect, and steady care. He had given her time to breathe, time to grow, and time to trust. She set the folded shirt aside and stepped closer. "I have been thinking about it," she said softly. "When I came here, I was afraid of everything. Afraid of you, afraid of the future, afraid of what I left behind. But you have given me peace I did not know was possible." Thomas waited, not pushing her to continue. "If you still want to marry me," she said, "I would like that." Thomas let out a slow breath, as if he had been holding it without realizing. "I would be honored, Clara," he said. The next morning they rode into town together. Clara wore her best dress, simple but clean, and Mrs. Holloway greeted her at the church door with a small bunch of wildflowers. "You look lovely, dear," she said. Thomas chose well. Clara blushed, holding the flowers close. The ceremony was simple. A few neighbors stood inside the little church, offering kind smiles. When the preacher began his words, Clara felt her heart race. She thought it might pound right out of her chest. But Thomas reached over and gently took her hand in his. His touch steadied her. When it was time for vows, Thomas spoke first. His voice was steady and sure. "I promise to honor you, care for you, and protect the life we build together." I promise to be patient and good to you, always." Clara's throat tightened. Her past tried to pull at her, whispering she did not deserve such kindness. But Thomas looked at her with a sincerity that pushed those shadows away. Clara spoke her vows with a trembling voice. "I promise to stand by your side and build a home filled with peace. I promise to learn this life with you, one step at a time." When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Thomas leaned in slowly, giving her the space she needed. Clara lifted her chin and closed her eyes, letting their first kiss be gentle, warm, and full of promise. After the ceremony, neighbors gathered at the ranch for a small celebration. Food filled the table, music drifted through the air, and laughter settled among the guests. Clara found herself smiling more than she had in years, feeling welcomed not just by Thomas, but by the community around them. When evening settled, and the last guests rode home, Clara and Thomas stood together on the porch. The sky stretched wide above them. The stars shimmered. The land felt full of life. "Are you happy?" Thomas asked softly. Clara met his eyes. "I am," she said. "More than I thought I ever could be." They stepped inside together. Thomas moved slowly, careful not to overwhelm her. When they reached the doorway to her room, he paused. "If you want your own room tonight, that is all right," he said. "We can take each day as it comes." Clara looked at him, the man who had shown her nothing but tenderness and patience since the day she arrived. "No," she whispered. "I want you to stay with me." The relief and warmth in Thomas's eyes made her heart swell. That night he held her close, not with demand but with quiet comfort. Clara lay against him, listening to the steady beat of his heart, feeling safe in a way she had never known. The days that followed were filled with a growing closeness. Clara helped around the ranch with more confidence. She planted a small garden behind the house, something she had always wished to do. Thomas added shelves in the kitchen when she mentioned needing more space. They shared simple meals, steady work, and quiet evenings, watching the sun melt into the horizon. One day in early summer, Clara stood by the corral watching Thomas guide a young horse. The wind carried the smell of warm grass, and the sky stretched wide and clear. She walked toward him when he finished. "Hard to believe," she said, smiling gently, "that just a short time ago I barely knew you." "I know," he said with a soft grin. "But I think we were meant to find each other." Clara reached for his hand, threading her fingers with his. "I think so too," she said. Later that evening, as they rocked together on the porch watching the western sky fade to pink and gold, Clara leaned her head on his shoulder. "I used to think home was just a place you survived," she said quietly. "But you showed me it can be something else, something warm, something safe, something you choose." Thomas kissed the top of her head, his voice full of emotion as he answered. "You are my home too, Clara." She squeezed his hand. The man who greeted her with "welcome home" had given her more than a place to live. He had given her a chance to start again, a chance to grow, a chance to love and be loved without fear. As the first stars blinked awake in the darkening sky, Clara knew she had finally found the life she hoped for, a life built on trust, kindness, and quiet strength. For the first time in her life, home felt real.